Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Living in Northern California. Today we are going to do a little market update, talk about what we're seeing about out there, talk a little bit about interest rates. So you guys are in for a treat.
All right, before we get started, if you're new to our channel, make sure to give a little love to that subscribe button and click on that notification button so you can be the first to know about what's happening here in Northern California.
Rates, they're going up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Where were we at the bottom, like the high twos?
Yeah, 2.8, something like that. And
It was a huge shock when we got to 5.
Yeah, the market slowed down when we got to 5.5. Then we went up to 6, and then it went back down to 5.
So when it went up to in the 6s, it was still slow. But when it came back down to the 5s, it just sparked.
So like
real estate sparked again.
Teeter-totters, and people get shocked. And then it went up to 7, and then it went back to 6.5 when we saw the market pick up again. And we still have a lot of buyers right now at 7.5. But wow, what is the rates today?
I mean, they're touching 8% now.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Yeah. Generally, like they say that average rates are in this 7-8%. And then back in the early 1990s or whatever, when my mom was still doing real estate, she would always tell us like interest rates were like 18%.
But housing 1980,
prices,
yeah.
But housing prices were also like 400,000 compared to like where we are right now.
I mean, you could look up clips. I saw an Instagram video last week of someone put a clip of like a news segment of all these people that were talking about how I don't think we're ever going to see 15% interest rates again. 14, this is it, right? So even back then, people were in shock with how high the interest rates were and thinking that they would never come back down, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And so are we in a little bit of that? Like, are we ever going to see interest rates come down? We think they are eventually going to come down. Yeah. Are we going to see, I'm going to be like that person on the newscast. I don't think we're ever going to see 3% again. I could be dead wrong. I don't know what the future, what's going to happen and what, the Fed would ever have to do to lower interest rates to that
say
point.
Something happened like
we
what we
know.
Had with COVID. They had to bring the economy back. So that's why they dropped it. I mean, unforeseen things can happen all the time.
Do we see it coming down into, we've been saying the 5s? Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are still hearing that rates will go into like back into the 6 and then maybe even the 5.5s or something like that. So, we study inflation quite a bit and inflation has gone down, but everything is always with a lag. So it doesn't immediately change what things are happening after that. So we do have statistics that show, and I could pull up a graph that says over the long run, you could see inflation going up and going down and mortgage rates go up and go down with it, but lagged behind it. So it doesn't immediately change as inflation is moving because the way they calculate everything is always in the year to year kind of graph. And so year over year, inflation will go like that and go down. And then mortgage rates are like trying to chase after it. So, I mean, they do see it.
We had a slowdown last year. I think prices peaked in around January and then started to come down. Yeah. Right. And we had a little bit of a pullback in prices. Now, I'm not speaking of with this new interest rate hike, but what we've seen in the last few months of a steady market. Some places having price increases.
Right.
We work with a lot of buyers. We've even, our listings have sold.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit longer on the market, but not every single listing we've had is a little bit longer. Some are still hot, right?
For sure.
And we're seeing price increases still.
Yeah. I mean, it really
But
depends.
why are we seeing those? If interest rates are so high, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be driving a lot of buyers out of the market. Why aren't prices crashing?
Well, lack of inventory.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still a very big
That's the biggest
lack
thing,
of
right?
Inventory. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we probably, like in Rockland alone, I think is like 1.6 months of inventory, and a seller's market's like 6 months of inventory or something like
Yeah.
that. So there's a lack of inventory across the nation. We are fortunate in like the Placer County area, Sacramento area. There's a lot of new builds happening, where we have an opportunity not just to wait for sellers to put the house on the market, but we have new builds that have inventory. And then because of certain buyers being pulled out of the market because of affordability, there have houses where we can actually negotiate, certain things for clients.
So how I kind of see it, there's a lot of people that have homes. They bought homes when interest rates were really low.
Oh,
A lot of them probably would like to move already. I mean, there's a lot of deals made back then where people were just putting an offer in because they were afraid they weren't going to get any house. And they probably got in, got the low rate, and aren't that happy with the house. But because rates
they
are
had
so
to
high,
rush.
because rates are so high, they feel stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so when rates go from, their rate goes from 3 and now rates are 5.5, they're like, I'm not gonna sell, I'm gonna stay here. And then when it goes to 7.5, 8, what's gonna happen when rates go down to 6?
Yeah.
Some of these people are just gonna be fed up, and
Right.
you're gonna see more houses on the market.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen
So,
with buyers when rates go
Right.
from 8 to 6?
Yeah. So my thought is people who are 3.5 or below, I have a hard time finding that they would sell. I think they would maybe rent out their house
That's a great
because
hack. Yep.
they're 3%. Anything around that is just you're making money.
If you can, for you guys out there,
Yeah.
keep your house.
Right.
We love real
anything
estate. It's
like-
going to keep appreciating. If you could keep your house
Yeah.
that you want to get out of right now with that low interest rate, you could
Rent
keep
it.
that low interest rate,
Yeah.
rent it out,
Yep.
and then get into another house.
Right. But I'm thinking the people with like the 5%, where it's like kind of in that cusp of like higher end rate.
Yeah.
I think those are the people. Once we see like 6, they're probably gonna make a move. I actually saw this article that the Gen Y, they're talking about how like to retire they need more than $1 million, and an average like a Gen Y or something like that has only like $700,000 saved. So a lot of them are actually thinking and wanting to sell their home right
$1
now.
million goes like that these
I
days. Think
know.
about it. Ugh.
I know.
Sorry.
I mean, because you can't. I mean, I think they're looking at it in a place where like you're looking at retirement,
Frugal.
like Social Security, like just
You're
the
not
government
going out
paid.
spending tons of money.
Yeah.
Kind of living at your bare
Right.
means, right?
Yeah.
$1 million. So have
So-
more. Have 2, 3 more.
Yeah, so there's an article that I saw that said, that was kind of like a thought in that age bracket where they're thinking of like selling because they need that cushion to be able to live retirement. And then also right now we're seeing the biggest amount of millennials buying. So the average buying age for one person is about 33 years old. And so, millennials are one of the biggest years of like birth growth. And so there's a ton of millennials that are like getting ready to buy.
Trying to buy, but interest rates are
Yeah,
so low. I mean,
for
so
sure.
high right now.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is we get used to the interest rate. So it went from 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7
Yeah.
to 8. Eventually, if we see a little bit of a pullback, they're going to be like, it's going to keep going, so I'm going to take advantage now. So I think the point is, I feel like there's a lot of pent up demand.
Yeah.
From my
Totally.
guy Ricky Carr that
Yeah.
uses that, a lot of information.
There
Shout out to
is,
him.
totally.
That when people feel like they can't right now, if things get better, a little bit better,
Oh,
you see
totally.
sparks. We've seen it the
Yes.
whole way through.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we lost some clients when it
Yeah.
shot up to 6.
Yeah.
You know?
What gets me though, and I say this all the time, is people are tripping off like one of the biggest assets that they'll ever have, which over periods of time always appreciates at 7%, 8%. But people spend credit cards like nothing, and those
Yeah.
are like what, 28%?
I think you just get used to like the now.
Standard.
And you're not
Yeah.
thinking about the big picture. Like I'm very guilty of that. There's so many years I just didn't think about, I can't invest in my 401k because I could barely put my kids through baseball and dance and all that. But really, what was I spending my money on?
Right.
Until us and a lot of people we deal with buy a house and they realize, oh, we're putting money into our equity, and
It's like a forced
even though it
savings.
comes up, comes down, you look at any graph, it's going to continue to
Yeah.
appreciate. And,
sure.
That's what we're seeing out there is because we live in Rockland and there's a lot of new builds in a lot of the cities around here. I'm just going to name a few. We got Rockland, Roseville, Lincoln, Folsom, El Dorado, Rancho Cordova. There's a lot of new builds. And with that, there are some inventory that's caught up in some of these new builds. And what that means is there's not a huge waiting list like there was before.
Yeah.
And they might have 1 or 2 homes that are ready built. And
Yeah.
what are we going to see in those? I mean, the last few clients we've had,
So we have 3 that are in escrow with a new build.
already built homes. And what's the benefit to that, right? Is going to be
Rate buy down.
first, lower prices. They've come down on prices. Second is usually they have a pretty good lender incentive, anywhere from 10,000 to, I think I've seen up to 30,000.
Yeah.
What do we use that incentive for? To pay closing costs, to also bring your interest rate down. You have 2 options. You could do a permanent rate buy down. So if rates right now are 8%, I'm just making up a number. Let's say we can't get it to a 6.
Yeah.
And
Well,
keep
like,
that permanent.
Last month, we had 2 clients that got into a new build, which was like decreased 40,000 already in price.
Yeah.
But they were able to use their lender incentive to get a 5.625%,
Yes.
and rates were like 7.25 maybe. And so that's a huge savings. And then there's also the 2-1 buy down.
2-1 buy down is my favorite thing to talk about. And whenever we go to these new builds, that's what they mention. Like, hey, we have incentive, you could buy down your rate. 2-1 buy down, let me explain that. We got a lot of videos on that, but for this video, it is a program that, let's say today's rate is 8%. Okay. So the 2 represents the first year, it's going to be 2% less. So that would be 6% for the first year. The second year, that 1 represent 1% down. So 8, it would be 7, correct?
Yeah.
So first year is 6, second year's 7. The third year
And on.
is going to go back to today's interest rate. That'll be fixed. So you would go back to the 8. Now the good thing is, if interest rates go down, you refinance into a lower interest rate. If they go up to 10, 12, 50, 80, whatever it is, you're locked into the 8%. So I'm not saying everybody go out there and buy, but if you need to buy, there are deals out there and there's good incentives that you could still save money monthly. What do you like to say? Marry the price, date the interest rate.
Right.
That means if there's deals out there and prices are coming down, marry that price.
Yeah.
Just get in that interest rate and date it, because you
for
can always
sure.
get out of it.
Because you can refinance out of it. But make sure you guys, after the 3rd year, can afford those payments. Because, we do foresee rates going down. I think Fannie Mae and a whole bunch of different market analysts do predict that rates are going to go down. But we just don't know exactly when and how much.
We thought they were going to go down by now.
Yeah,
and we were wrong.
And so, just make sure for the meantime that the regular market rate you can afford in 2 years after the rate buy down is over. And the whole point around it is to save that money up front, because you're going to have a lot of housing expenses when you move in. Moving expenses. What if you have to buy furniture, all that stuff, right? So usually the first 6 months of moving into a home, you spend a lot of money.
I want to talk about one more program, but before we get on that, I was talking about new builds doing the 2-1 buy down. You could get that in resells as well.
Depends on how long they've been sitting on the market.
Yeah, another way how that works is the only way a 2-1 buy down works is the seller, right? So you're the buyer. The seller has to pay that credit for that buy down. So it's free to you. It works for the seller because they could keep that price and just give a credit, right? Yeah. And so it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
So
and
if
I
you
do
find a house,
recommend, like, say you want to lowball on a property, don't lowball on the price. Keep the price as is and just ask for the seller credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lower your interest rate.
Yeah, because over the long run, you'll save more money with
And
lower.
I mean,
interest
there are
rate.
houses out there that maybe been on the market for a while, and they'll lower the price and
Yeah.
also pay for your closing costs or 2-1 buy down.
Yep. All right. So another hack that we just learned about, there is a program called Cal HFA. And so for the longest time, I thought they only did down payment assistance programs. And I was like, okay, this is a great down payment assistance program. One of our lenders just told me last week, actually, that people can use the Cal HFA rates. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You don't have to do their down payment assistance program. And this is like a huge hack right now, because I asked them today what the rates were for this program. And so right now you're looking on not Cal HFA program, regular rates is at 8.125%. He says on a conventional for anyone not needing assistance, it's 7.125%. You could do 7.375% with the 3% down payment assistance program for a first-time home buyer. FHA is 7.125%. And then FHA only offers assistance for the 3.5% down, no closing costs. So, I mean, like that's almost like, that's a whole point of just using this program.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, there's just so much opportunities out there that we all don't know about. And so that's why we want to come on this platform and just share all the information that we are finding out as we navigate through this crazy real estate market that we're in.
Lack of inventory, high interest rates. There are deals out there. Prices are still going up, you know.
Different programs.
We're seeing a lot of deals, right? The best deals we've seen, right?
Yeah. But my like one really big takeaway from this that I want people to get is, yes, interest rates are high. There are opportunities to drop the rates like Steven has talked about. But imagine the pent up demand that we're like that are just holding off right now. Like a bunch of buyers on the side, sellers not selling because the interest rates are high. As soon as the interest rates, I mean, I want to say like if they get back into the 6%, the buyer demand is going to
I'm getting
shoot
it now
through
because
the
it
roof.
might go back up.
Right. And so what you're going to see is multiple offers. So then you're going to be doing multiple offers, prices are going to go up, and over the long run that might just cost you a lot more money because you're at a certain interest rate, you know, 30,000-40,000 over asking price versus being able to negotiate on price and interest rate buy downs right now. And it's just not as stressful. You have time to buy the house that you're looking for. It's like when there's so much pent up demand and like the craziness happens, it's like I feel like people just buy because they're getting FOMO.
Yeah. Don't get FOMO. Make sure you're in the position to buy. Speak to a expert in the area that knows what's going on. That being said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to call us. You could DM us, email us, set up a chat. You guys have any more, you want to go kind of more in a deep dive in what we're seeing. Maybe you're in the market to buy and you want to know what's out here, what we're seeing. We jump on calls with people like you all the time from all around the country. It's pretty cool the amount of people we've been able to reach with this channel, and we'd love to connect with you if you guys have any more questions.
Yeah. And again, make sure to give a little love to that
Love.
subscribe button.
Hit it. Hit that notification button so you can be the first to know what's going on here in Northern California. We will see you on the next video, guys. Peace.
Bye.